if you own a business, it's only a matter of time before you run into a bad customer. Now, it's important to find out what a bad customer is and what a bad customer is not. A bad customer is not an unhappy customer. We talked about that in a different video. You can check that out. But a bad customer is someone who is trying to abuse you. Think of someone who comes into the restaurant, eats the food, says they don't like it, and they demand to talk to the manager. You know, these are people that are that most sane people can see are very unreasonable, and they just want to make your life harder. They want to get stuff for free. They just want to abuse you. So that's not quite the same as just someone who's not happy. And so the first thing you got to do is find out which camp they fall into, the unhappy customers or the bad customers. So if you have a bad customer, the first thing you need to do is make sure that they are a bad customer, review everything in your mind, find out if they are at fault or if you are at fault. Look back at the experience, the interactions, see if you did anything wrong, because if you did something wrong, then you can go back and be a little more honest about it. But if this really is a bad customer, then you need to figure out how to deal with this, because you don't want them to leave you a bad review, and they probably will because they're a bad customer. Do you just like play kiss up and take the L, you know, cut your losses and move on? In my opinion, you don't. And here's why. Because like I said, most people can see when a bad customer is acting crazy. And so if they leave you a bad review and they say, oh, I ordered this meal and I ate it and it was so great, or they say, I ordered this meal and they wouldn't give me a new one. I'm using this restaurant analogy because it's the first thing that comes to mind. You're probably not in the restaurant business, but it applies to whatever. But if someone leaves a review and they say, I ordered this and they wouldn't give me something even though the meat was still pink, blah, 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 and then you can respond to that review and say, well, Susan, like, why did you eat the whole thing then? And that way your potential customers who see this bad review, they'll see your response, and they'll very easily be able to see through their stuff. So number one, you don't want to let the bad customers win. You don't want to let them have their way, because you need to stick up for yourself. And truth be told, in my opinion, I feel like your customers will respect you more if they see you stand up for yourself. You know, if you're just bending over every which way for these customers, and hopefully you don't get a lot of them, but eventually, you know, they're bound to show up. And so if that happens, you need to stick up for yourself, and people will see that, and then they'll respect you more. And it has to be very obvious, right? If it's questionable, you might have to err on the other side, but it should be very obvious what's going on. If people look at that review or whatever it is, then you should just take care of that bad customer that way. So if you do have any of these bad customers, I would encourage you to, the first thing is make sure that they really are a bad customer, that they're trying to abuse you and trying to get free stuff. Once you've done that, you know, stick up for yourself. Don't let them get their way, because you need to stand up for yourself. It's a business, and people need to know that you're running a business and that they can't just screw with you like that. So those are just a few things that I've thought of in terms of dealing with bad customers. Because these people are just off their rocker a little bit. So that's about it. So don't let them win. Don't let them beat you. Stand up for yourself.